In the middle of the night, two beautiful women sneak into a cemetery and start digging. They dig one grave-like pit after another until they finally find what they came for, a bag stuffed with 700 million won in cash. But just as they are about to leave with the money, they discover something even bigger. Before this desperate treasure hunt, Mi-sun and Do-kyung are best friends. They are not related by blood, but their bond is as close as sisters. In a society that gives them almost nothing, they are the only people each other can depend on. During the day, Mi-sun works at a flower shop. At night, she works in a club, drinking with customers. She lives carefully and saves almost every bit of money she earns. One day, when an old customer comes to buy flowers again, Mi-sun happily tells him good news. But that good news comes at a price. She has spent almost all her savings. Just then, Do-kyung strides into the flower shop. Compared with Mi-sun's gentler manner, Do-kyung is blunt, fiery, and quick to act. Their personalities balance each other perfectly. After the flower shop closes, Do-kyung immediately drives Mi-sun to the nightclub for her next shift. Do-kyung's driving is wild enough to shock passersby, but she is already used to the stares. Along the way, she hands illegal diet pills to customers who come looking for her. That side hustle is one of her main sources of income, and she reminds each client to spread the word. More customers means more money. After finishing the deal, Do-kyung drops Mi-sun off at work. The moment Mi-sun leaves, a small-time gangster named Suk-gu gets into Do-kyung's car. He says he has an extremely profitable job and asks if she wants in. Do-kyung barely listens. She knows too well that anything Suk-gu brings her is probably illegal, so she refuses without hesitation. But Suk-gu keeps pestering her. Meanwhile, Mi-sun enters the club's dressing room. She puts on a blue wristband marking her as a hostess for the night, then starts getting ready. As the club's top girl, Mi-sun naturally attracts jealousy. Other women mock her, saying she acts like she is different from them and will probably retire after this week. Mi-sun does not get angry. She simply opens her phone camera and checks her face. Then the manager receives a message from the club owner, Choi. A major customer will arrive soon, so everyone needs to prepare. The girls hear that this guest, Boss To, made a fortune in the Philippines and recently bought several bars in Korea. He sounds like a high-value client, but when Boss To enters the room, the first thing he does is order someone to remove the withered flowers at the front desk. He seems obsessive, and he does not allow the girls to sit too close to him. After several rounds of drinks, a basketball coach reveals the real reason he is there. With his experience and his star player, he can control the game exactly the way Boss To wants. In other words, he wants Boss To join a fixed betting scheme. Boss To only smiles and says nothing. After the gathering ends, the drunk coach keeps complaining to Mi-sun as she helps him out. He says Boss To was rude, then rambles that he is about to make a huge amount of money. Mi-sun only gives polite, empty replies and asks the electric bodyguard to send him away. At the same time, Do-kyung is sitting in her car, addicted to a new basketball gambling site. She has just won a little money when one of Mi-sun's drunk coworkers gets in. When Do-kyung treats her coldly, the girl brags that she was drinking with the famous coach Choi. She says the score will be 65 to 59, and Do-kyung should bet on the coach's team because it is guaranteed money. Do-kyung assumes she is just drunk and ignores it. But as Do-kyung prepares to drive her home, a message suddenly pops up on her phone. It says that club owner Choi is a rental scammer. The women who signed contracts for Gangnam villas need to find a way out immediately. Back inside the club, Mi-sun returns to the staff room and sees the other women kneeling, crying, and screaming. Someone is cursing Choi. It turns out Choi claimed he had an inside channel to buy Gangnam villas at a low price. He tricked the women into handing over all their hard-earned savings. Then he used their money in another deposit scam and lost everything. Not a single won is left. Mi-sun is furious and wants to confront Choi, but Choi has already killed himself after losing all the money. Mi-sun and Do-kyung shake with anger. They immediately try to take the cash hidden in the drawer. The others try to stop them, but they cannot hold the two women back. The problem is that the small amount in the drawer is nothing compared with the 700 million won Mi-sun invested. It cannot save her. With no other choice, Mi-sun decides to mortgage her flower shop, using the money to survive for a while. The next day, she gathers herself and goes back to work at the club. Not long after arriving, she receives a bank alert. All the money she just borrowed against the flower shop has been transferred away. Mi-sun panics. Only one person knows her bank password, Do-kyung. Mi-sun rushes home in rage, and the sight almost makes her explode. Do-kyung has used the money to bet on basketball. Do-kyung quickly explains that the drunk hostess told her the exact score of today's game. This bet will win. They will not lose. At this point, Mi-sun has no other option. She can only pray that the fixed game will bring their money back. The score information is accurate, but when they try to withdraw the winnings, the betting platform's owner has already disappeared. He even leaves a message daring the gamblers to report him to the police. Mi-sun and Do-kyung stare at the screen, frozen. Now they truly have no way back. Do-kyung calls Seok-gu and asks whether the job he mentioned is still available. Seok-gu immediately laughs and mocks her, asking if she and Mi-sun lost everything. Do-kyung needs his help, so she swallows her anger and asks for more money. Seok-gu tells her to come talk in person. Meanwhile, after taking over the club business, Seok-gu drags Mi-sun into a private room to entertain a customer named An Jun-myung. He clearly wants to push Mi-sun deeper into the business. Mi-sun glares at him like she wants to kill him, but she does not say no. Soon, Do-kyung arrives at the club looking for Seok-gu, but he is not in the room. Elsewhere, Boss To's wife, Ji-yeon, complains to a male host that her husband recently lost a lot of money, which means he has cut her living allowance too. She may not be able to shop for a while. A short time later, Seok-gu pushes two male hosts into a stairwell to talk privately, unaware that Do-kyung is hiding above them. Do-kyung overhears a secret. One of the male hosts says Boss To has hidden 700 million won in dirty cash. He is planning to swallow the money with Seok-gu. Seok-gu immediately agrees. Do-kyung calmly goes to meet Seok-gu as if she heard nothing. He hands her a black bag with a detailed address written on it. She takes the bag and leaves quickly. After drinking with An Jun-myung, Mi-sun is taken to a street stall. An places 2 bundles of cash in front of her and tells her to drink more. Mi-sun smiles faintly but does not touch the money. She steps outside and lights a cigarette. 10 minutes later, Do-kyung arrives at the pickup address. The passengers waiting for her are the male host and Boss To's wife, Ji-yeon. The man starts coaxing Ji-yeon, trying to get her to reveal where Boss To hides his money. Ji-yeon, pleased by his attention, casually says her husband bought several plots of land in Gyeonggi province. The money is probably hidden in one of them. Then she suddenly starts to throw up. Do-kyung pulls over. While the male host takes care of Ji-yeon, Do-kyung checks his phone and sees unread messages from Seok-gu. They are ready to go pull the money, and he also writes that he is looking forward to Mi-sun's first night with the customer. Do-kyung instantly realizes Mi-sun is in danger. Before the male host notices, she floors the gas and drives away. An Jun-myung is already trying to touch Mi-sun. At the critical moment, Do-kyung bursts in and smashes 2 bottles over his head. When Mi-sun wakes up, Do-kyung is sitting beside her. Do-kyung tells her about Boss To's hidden money. If they can get it, they can finally escape their dark, suffocating life and stop being pushed around by everyone. That line hits Mi-sun hard. She truly cannot endure this life anymore. Rather than keep being exploited and humiliated, they might as well risk everything. The 2 women begin immediately. They secretly follow Boss To to a bar and see him talking with a bald woman. Do-kyung tells Mi-sun that the woman is Boss To's right hand. She is beautiful but ruthless, and anyone she targets either ends up disabled or disappears. Even knowing the danger, Mi-sun grits her teeth and enters the bar to gather more information about the money. Boss To sits with a wealthy chaebol acquaintance. Soon, 2 masked servers approach. The one sitting beside Boss To is Mi-sun. The chaebol flirts with the other server, but Boss To ignores Mi-sun completely and even forbids her from pouring him a drink. The chaebol tries to smooth things over by pouring Mi-sun a drink, but he soon realizes he has said the wrong thing and leaves with the other server. After a while, Boss To either senses something strange about Mi-sun or suddenly becomes interested in her. He asks her to remove her mask. Mi-sun covers his eyes and suggests a game. They will take turns drinking. If Boss To wins, she will remove the mask immediately. Boss To enjoys the idea and agrees. They drink 1 glass after another. Then the manager whispers that something happened outside. Boss To has to leave the table to handle it. Of course, this is part of Mi-sun and Do-kyung's plan. If Mi-sun does not come out of the bar within 30 minutes, Do-kyung will create a distraction. So Do-kyung deliberately crashes into Boss To's car and draws him outside. She apologizes anxiously and says insurance can cover the damage. Boss To does not want trouble and tells her to leave. Do-kyung keeps stalling, refusing to go. Finally, she throws a few insults at him and drives off. While Boss To is distracted, Mi-sun Mi-sun uses software to crack his phone and copy the data, including the locations of several villas and properties. By the time Boss To returns, Mi-sun is already gone. Meanwhile, Seok-gu uses his own channels and learns that Boss To hid the money in a private cemetery. But Mi-sun and Do-kyung get there first. They do not know the exact hiding spot, so they dig one pit after another. It is exhausting and clearly impossible to keep doing forever. Then Do-kyung notices a compactor near one of the pits. If something was hidden here, it would make sense to bury it near the machine. They start digging there and finally pull a black bag from the ground. Inside is the 700 million won in cash. Mi-sun and Do-kyung are so excited they almost cry. But as they prepare to leave, Do-kyung notices another wooden layer beneath the pit. When they pry it open and see what is inside, both women freeze. It is a full box of gold bars. Mi-sun and Do-kyung load the gold bars into the car, thrilled but terrified. Mi-sun can barely hide her excitement, but Do-kyung is worried. Taking the 700 million won is one thing, but gold bars worth this much are another matter. Boss To will never let this go. Just as Do-kyung worries, Seok-gu drives past and sees them. He immediately realizes the women also came to dig up the money, so he turns around and chases them. After a hard roadblock maneuver, he forces their car to stop. Mi-sun and Do-kyung lock the doors and refuse to get out. Seok-gu picks up a shovel and prepares to smash the window. Do-kyung has no choice but to roll it down and explain, but Seok-gu sees the cash. Mi-sun grabs the money bag and runs. Seok-gu catches her and knocks her down. Do-kyung rushes to help but gets kicked repeatedly. When Seok-gu is about to hurt them even worse, Mi-sun throws him the cash and tells him to take it and leave. Seok-gu gets the bag and starts walking away. Then he suddenly leans into the car and looks around. Mi-sun and Do-kyung's hearts almost stop. Fortunately, he does not notice the gold bars. Mi-sun set up the whole scene deliberately. Seok-gu believes there was only cash in the pit. When Boss To discovers both the money and the gold are gone, he will assume Seok-gu stole everything. While Boss To and Seok-gu tear each other apart, Mi-sun and Do-kyung can find a way to take the gold out of Korea. Mi-sun goes to a woman who once brought her into the business, asking for help. The woman has dirt on the Japanese ambassador to Korea, which may allow them to move the gold to Japan. After hearing the request, the woman demands 1 billion won as payment. Mi-sun has no other choice and agrees. She even promises another 500 million if the gold reaches Japan safely. The woman does not waste time. She pulls up a compromising video of the ambassador and hands over the business card of a document forger. Mi-sun and Do-kyung now have a plan. They will split up. Mi-sun will negotiate with the ambassador, while Do-kyung takes the card and gets fake passports made. Before leaving, Mi-sun reminds Do-kyung to get a fake passport for the older woman too. The moment the door closes, the woman who seemed asleep opens her eyes. The Japanese ambassador soon arrives at Mi-sun's flower shop. He speaks arrogantly, saying he has seen women like her before. If he helps once, she will keep coming back for more. So he has decided not to help at all. Mi-sun does not waste words. She uploads the video to social media. The ambassador's face changes instantly, but when he snatches the phone and checks, he realizes she posted it to a private account only she can see. He relaxes, but he no longer dares to act superior. He agrees to her demand. Meanwhile, Boss To has discovered the money is missing. He first clears his wife Ji-yeon as a suspect, then orders the bald woman to dispose of Ji-yeon's body. After that, the bald woman storms into the club and grabs the male host by the head. Terrified, he tells her everything he knows. Seok-gu, holding the cash and laughing to himself, gets a call from the male host. He tells him to handle his own problems and hangs up. The next second, the bald woman breaks in. To stay alive, Seok-gu confesses what he knows, but he still gets beaten badly. Boss To says he does not care that his wife was meeting male hosts. What he wanted was the title of married man, but the one thing he cannot tolerate is someone touching his money. Seok-gu desperately explains that he only took cash from Mi-sun and Do-kyung. He knows nothing about the gold. Boss To orders the bald woman to take Seok-gu and find the two women immediately. Do-kyung, meanwhile, finds the fake passport office. The boss takes the deposit and tells her to come back tomorrow with the rest of the money. But when Do-kyung returns home, she receives terrible news. The older woman woman has run away with the gold. Do-kyung calls her, but the woman shows no guilt. After hanging up, the woman goes to the nightclub and orders a group of male hosts to entertain her. When they see the gold bar she pulls out, their eyes light up. The male host quickly tells Suk-gu about the gold. Suk-gu, trying to save himself, brings the bald woman to the club. Mi-sun and Do-kyung arrive looking for the woman and see them. The bald woman walks up and slaps the older woman hard, but the woman is not afraid. She tells the bald woman to take her to Boss To. The next second, Do-kyung rushes in to save her. The older woman grabs an ashtray and smashes it at the bald woman, then runs out with Do-kyung. But in the stairwell, she suddenly slaps Do-kyung. It turns out Do-kyung is her biological daughter, while Mi-sun is the girl she picked up and raised along the way. The woman tells Do-kyung to wake up. A person can only save her own life. Then she separates from Do-kyung. Do-kyung leaves through the back door, only to run into Suk-gu. But now, with Suk-gu badly injured, he is no match for her. Do-kyung beats him instead. She then meets Mi-sun and says she knows where the gold is. Mi-sun insists on going back to save the older woman. Their priorities split again. Do-kyung goes after the gold, while Mi-sun tries to save the woman. Soon, Mi-sun sees the bald woman force the older woman into a car. Mi-sun follows them to a factory. Inside, Boss To throws the woman into a tar pit, leaving her hanging by a single rope tied to her wrist. He demands to know where the gold is hidden. The woman knows that even if she tells him, he will not spare her. Then she spots Mi-sun watching from the clock area. Boss To injects her with something. To protect Mi-sun from being discovered, the woman loudly reveals the location of the gold. Boss To immediately calls his men and tells them to go to the station. Then he asks for the locker password. The woman deliberately lowers her voice, luring Boss To closer. The bald woman sees through the trick, but the older woman pulls her into the tar pit instead. Boss To looks disgusted. Rather than save his top enforcer, he complains that the bald woman got herself dirty. In the end, the bald woman and the older woman sink together. At the same time, Do-kyung reaches locker number 12 at the station and enters the correct password. By the time Boss To's men arrive, the gold is already gone. When the devastated Mi-sun returns home, Do-kyung shows her the recovered gold bars. The locker password was not Do-kyung's birthday. It was not Mi-sun's birthday either. It was the simplest number, 1, 2, 3. Years ago, the older woman often sent Do-kyung to deliver goods. The goods were always left in locker number 12. If police came to check, the woman would shout 1, 2, 3, and Do-kyung would run with her. It was their secret, but Mi-sun cannot be happy. When Do-kyung hears the woman is dead, she tries to comfort Mi-sun by saying a person like that is better off dead. Mi-sun explodes and tells Do-kyung to take the gold and leave. Do-kyung shows nothing on her face, but once she leaves, tears pour down. Later, Do-kyung returns with the fake passports. The next second, Mi-sun burns them. She is staying to avenge the woman. The two women go to Suk-gu's hospital room. Using a fake drug and a promise to take down Boss To, they force him to talk. Suk-gu reveals that Boss To has been running a gambling site with the basketball coach, manipulating games for profit. The players obey because their lives are threatened. In a few days, Boss To will open a massive betting pool. He plans to put everything he has on the coach's Wind Dragons losing by more than 6 points. So if the Wind Dragons win, Boss To will be ruined. With that crucial information, Mi-sun and Do-kyung decide to use the power of the women around them. They tell every woman in the club that Boss To is the real mastermind behind the scam that stole their money. Choi was only a scapegoat he forced to die. Mi-sun says she wants to bring Boss To down completely, and she hopes the women will help. They agree. The women spread the rumor among wealthy customers that the Wind Dragons will win, pushing the betting pool and the odds higher. Meanwhile, Mi-sun visits star player Han Hyuk. Because the coach keeps interfering, Han Hyuk has been forced to play badly and ruin his own reputation. He already hates fixing games. Mi-sun deliberately provokes him, asking how long he will let the coach control him. On game day, the Wind Dragons fall behind. In the final quarter, Han Hyuk enters the game and immediately clashes with an opposing player. Boss To smiles, thinking everything is going his way. Then Han Hyuk makes his free throws and unleashes his true ability. He leads a fierce comeback and flips the game completely. The coach is frantic, but with the live broadcast and the crowd watching, he cannot say anything openly. The Wind Dragons win by a large margin. Boss To's face turns black. He soon discovers Mi-sun and Do-kyung were behind it. To force them out, he has the club women captured. Mi-sun and Do-kyung have no choice but to bring the gold to the factory, but they are careful. Only Mi-sun gets out to negotiate. Do-kyung stays behind the wheel. Mi-sun demands that Boss To release the women first. Once Do-kyung confirms the women are safe, she flashes the hazard lights to signal Mi-sun. The next second, Mi-sun grabs the suitcase and jumps back into the car. From the beginning, they never planned to hand over the gold. Do-kyung slams the gas and drives straight into Boss To's men, but she makes one mistake. Boss To rams them with his car and stops them. He drags Do-kyung out. Mi-sun rushes in and wraps a rope around Boss To's neck, but the two women are not strong enough to kill him. He breaks free. As Boss To fights with Mi-sun over the suitcase, Do-kyung seizes the chance and slams him into the tar pit. This time, Boss To goes down to meet Do-kyung's mother. Afterward, Mi-sun sends Saku the location so he can take the blame for the killing. In the final scene, Mi-sun and Do-kyung walk side by side down the road. They still have no money, but they have not lost the ability to imagine a future. Project Y tells the story of two women at the bottom, risking everything for money, freedom, and revenge. Through a brutal chase for 700 million won and a box of gold bars, the film exposes how small people survive inside a city ruled by scams, violence, and greed. There are no perfect heroes here. Only two women pushed to the edge, relying on each other and a reckless kind of courage to carve out a way to live. That is all for today's movie recap. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like, comment, and share. I'll see you in the next one.